Well, Merry Christmas, Crosswinds. It's that time of year again where we get to anticipate the birth of Jesus as we enter into this Advent season. I don't know about you, but it's been a long year. And right now, more than anything, personally, I need to be reminded that God is real, that He is powerful, but mostly that He sees me because He is a very personal God. I don't know what your year has been like or what you need from God right now, but I want you to know that Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us, and He wants nothing more than to enter into your life and bring you what you need right now. So as we enter into this service and into this time of worship, I want to encourage you more than anything to just try and be present and embrace what God might have for you in this season and to be open to His presence as He meets you in this space.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds kept their watching over silent flocks by night. Behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when out above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, the humble Christ was born, and God sent us salvation, that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. That Jesus Christ is born. That Jesus Christ is
Well, as we head into December, there is so much to tell you about. This year, we are planning a very special Christmas experience for you and your families. We have decided to turn our usual creative Christmas efforts toward using the 35-acre campus that we have been blessed with and offer something we're calling Christmas at Crosswinds, a walkthrough journey to Bethlehem. Over the course of about 5 evenings leading up to Christmas, we'll be offering safe, socially distant outdoor walking tours where you will get to experience different scenes from the Nativity story. Tours are going to happen about every 15 minutes during this event, and ADA access is available. This year, tickets will be for sale for $5 each in order to cover extra costs for some furry friends we've hired to make an appearance. Tickets are on sale now on our website and they're going fast. So if this is something that you would like to experience this Christmas with your family, go to our website and get your tickets. We could also use your help with the event itself. It's going to take all of us to make this happen. There are a ton of volunteer roles available, something for everyone, trust me. So if you would like to help, go to our website and click on the top banner that says Christmas at Crosswinds and sign up to help. We get to do this together. Well, as pastors, we are continuing to think of ways that we can connect with you during this time when we are doing so many things apart from each other. And one of the things we're doing is bringing you worship, not just on Sundays, but during the week as well. Every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, our pastors, Derek Walker and Sarah Holstra, are on Instagram with a short time of worship and reflection. So if you're someone who needs just a little spiritual boost during the week, join us by following Crosswinds Church on Instagram. And remember to also follow us on Facebook or Instagram to stay connected with the Crosswinds community. Well, as pastors, one of the things that we love doing is just being able to pray for you. This is the first Sunday of December, which means that it's Pastor Elder Prayer. And so if you would like someone to pray with you, you can email your prayer request to us or call our prayer hotline, and one of our pastors or elders will reach out to you so that you can pray together. Thank you, as always, for inviting us into your life and into your journey by letting us pray for you. And finally, we want to thank you for giving to Crosswinds Church. For many of you, this is the way that you demonstrate how much you value this place and how it serves you. You value it by giving back, and we are so grateful. As always, there's 3 ways you can give. You can mail a check, give online, or text. It's that easy. But thank you so much for the ways you have continued to support the work and ministry of Crosswinds Church through your gifts.
Well, good to be back, everybody. I hope your Thanksgiving went well. You had a good time with your loved ones, your family, those you were able to see. I know this Thanksgiving certainly looked different than previous years. For everyone that I've spoken with, hang in there. A vaccine is coming, and that's something we have to be thankful for right there. Having spent a lot of time with family the last few months, there's something that I am starting to notice. We have a very different understanding in my family of what the word ready means. Actually, this might be true for you and different people in your life as well. Maybe you can relate to this. I've noticed that when we in my household are getting ready to do something or go somewhere, we have very different understandings of what ready looks like. Like if Andrea is cooking dinner and she says, "Hey everyone, dinner's ready, come on, let's eat." And we all get up from where we are and go into the kitchen. It's like a guaranteed 5 more minutes until there's actually any food ready to be eaten. That is so different than when I cook, the very few things that I can cook well. I don't even call ready. They just know it because I'm sitting at the table eating. Anyway, we've gotten so used to waiting 5 more minutes when she calls that dinner is ready. Now we just keep doing whatever it is we were doing until we get a second ready, or sometimes a third. We got a little bit of a problem. On the flip side, I've learned that when we're all going to leave the house to go somewhere and I tell everyone to be ready by 10 a.m., I've learned that if I really want them to be ready by 10, I need to tell them to be ready by 9:45, because apparently be ready in their mind means start getting ready. Maybe the biggest place I notice the difference in ready is in the car. We've done a little bit of dropping off this pandemic, where you drop someone off at the door to go pick up something inside a store or a restaurant. And my move, especially if it's like downtown where there's not a parking spot right in front of the place we're picking up from, my move is to have whoever's with me from my family hop out and run in and grab the stuff. So I will say, I'm going to drop you off right in front, be ready. And they will say, "Okay, I'm ready." And then we will get there to the part on the street where I pull over a little bit and expect them to jump right out while I go circle the block, and I'll say, "Go!" And they'll go, "Now?" and have to put their shoes on and find their purse and grab a mask. Meanwhile, there's 3 cars behind us that are honking. We just have very different ideas of ready in the Coli house, and maybe you can relate to some of that. But even if you can't, I think the idea of waiting on other people is probably true for you in a broader, more meaningful way. Like, if you think about it, there are probably some things that you are ready to do, and you don't have buy-in from other people who are part of the decision. And right now, you find yourself waiting for them to be ready. Think about that. It could be making the leap from cable or satellite television to all streaming, cutting the cord. You've been ready for a few years. Everyone else in your household is hanging on. Or more importantly, it could be picking up and leaving California and moving someplace cheaper. You've been ready for a while. It could be adding another child to your family. By the way, I imagine lots of quarantine babies coming in 2021. It could be something at work. You're ready to see your organization take on a new challenge or go a new direction or just do something different that you've been thinking the organization should do for a long time. You are ready, and it doesn't seem like the rest of the organization is ready with you. I just say it. I think most of us know what it's like to be ready to go on an adventure or a mission, and we feel like we're waiting on others to be ready with us. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And to some extent, that's okay. It's good to have our patience exercised. And if we're honest, sometimes we're ready a little bit too soon. And those others are saving us from a lot of grief. But sometimes you're right. Like the thing you're ready for is a wise thing, and it's a good thing. The timing is right, and it will benefit everyone. And you know that maybe the others who are not ready are just scared. And sometimes the thing you're ready for, the reason you're ready is because God has led you to it. Then what do? We are in the series on waiting, and I have a real important kind of wait I want to talk about with you today. What do you do while you're waiting for others to be ready for something important that you are already ready for? All right, that's a mouthful. So let me say it again a little bit differently. When you are already ready for something important and others are not ready, how should you manage that wait? A few years ago, I had coffee with a man here from our church who had a dilemma of sorts. He had been volunteering for a while at a local sober living house, kind of a rehab facility, but a house. And actually, this place is so much more than that. These guys come out of pretty terrible situations, and then they move into this house. It's a Christian house sponsored by a church, and they get sober, and their lives change. And he had donated a good amount of time and money over the years to help upgrade the house. But this ministry saw their rent significantly raised a few years ago. They were struggling to pay the bills. So he had an idea to liquidate one of his assets and use the money to buy the house for them, or at least put down a hefty down payment, and then rent it out to them at a much more affordable monthly payment. And so he went to his wife and he said, "This is what I'm supposed to do. I feel like God is telling me I'm supposed to help this ministry, and I am ready. Let's do it tomorrow." And she said, "Absolutely not. I don't think that's what we're supposed to do." And he pushed back, and they debated, and there was no budging on either side. And we were having coffee to talk about this question. What do you do when you are ready and someone else, maybe everyone else, is not? And what do you do if you feel like the reason you're ready is because God told you to do the thing that you're ready to do? This is a very different kind of wait that you might find yourself in when this happens. And again, whether this happens with your family or at work or with your friends or some other kind of organization you're a part of, or can I say it, even your church, where you feel like your church is taking forever to be ready for something that you have been ready for years. I want to share with you today 4 more things for your wait list that we get from the Bible, this time about what to do when you're waiting for others to be ready for something that you are already ready for. And today I want to do it by looking at the story of 2 guys who've experienced this very thing that we're talking about. 2 guys that we'll read about in the Bible. Their names are Joshua and Caleb. Now, this part of their story is found in Numbers 13. And before we jump into the story, I just need to take a time out and own something about where we've been in this series and where we're going. And so far, if you've been following along, you'll notice that we have been giving you items for your wait list, right? And we've been numbering them. Item number 1, item number 2, and then the next week we end up doing items 4 through 5. Well, we are now like 5 or 6 weeks into this series, and it's going to go another 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to go through the end of December, and I don't even remember what item number we're on. I think it's 12 or 13 or something like that. So we're going to do away with the continuity of naming these item number this, and hopefully you will forgive us for our short-sightedness in thinking that we could carry through that concept through what is about a 9 or 10 week series. I say forgive us. Really, it's me. It's all my fault. Just blame me. Okay, Numbers 13. What's happening at the part that we're about to read, God has told Moses that it's time for his people to enter the promised land, Canaan. Some of you know the story of Moses leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, and they're finally at the edge of where God has been leading them, Canaan. This is going to be their new home. And so in Numbers 13, God tells Moses, I want you to send spies into Canaan so that you can see what's going on up there. So Moses picks 12 spies, and verse 17 says this. Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and he said to them, go up there into the Negeb and go up into the hill country and see what the land is like, and whether the people who live in it are strong or weak, whether they're few or many, whether the people who live there, the land they live in, whether it's good or bad, and whether the towns that they live in are unwalled or fortified, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are trees in it or not. Be bold and bring back some fruit of the land. All right, 12 spies, there's one from each tribe, and 2 of the spies that are sent are the guys that we're talking about today, Joshua and Caleb. Now, just to be clear, these are not professional spies, right? These are dudes who'd been in slavery in Egypt with everyone else. They are not 007. They're not Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. They're not even the international man of mystery that is Austin Powers. These are guys selected to go spy, right? So they're new at this. But maybe Moses picks guys who have leadership potential, who are excited about new possibilities and new direction, and they can come back from spying and inspire all the people. In fact, there is one spy from each tribe. So maybe the idea is that these 12 spies are going to be able to rally their families, their niche group, their clan. They'll come back and they'll get everybody ready. So the Bible tells us the spies go in and they spy out the land and they travel from region to region within that land. They go everywhere they can, and they do as Moses asked. They even get fruit. Moses, if you remember, had been like, bring us back some great fruit. Like, this will help us sell this to the people. And so they go and they get grapes and pomegranates and figs. All right, take a look at verse 25. It says, at the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land, and they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the Israelites, and they brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and they showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, we came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. So, good news, right? Good news. Verse 28. Yet the people who live in the land are strong, and the towns are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. And if we were to keep reading, you'd see that the spies begin to list all these different people groups that are scary and dangerous and strong. And all of a sudden, what started as a good report from the spies starts to turn bad. They say, Moses, people of Israel, it is indeed a land of milk and honey like we were promised, but there is bad news. There are already people living there, and they are powerful, and moving in would be a bad idea. So you get this. What they're basically telling their people, if we enter the promised land that God has for us, we will find ourselves slaves again. Or worse, they'll kill us. We're better off in the wilderness. Okay, these spies are not ready. In this little speech is making sure the people are not ready. Okay, take a look at verse 30. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses. Caleb speaks up. Caleb quiets the people before Moses, and he says, "Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." What? Check it out. There's at least one spy, in a second you'll see that it's two, who's ready to enter the land even if the other 10 are not. And Caleb says, "Nonsense. We've got this. We are ready." Okay, verse 31. Then the men who had gone up with him said, "We're not able to go up against this people, for they are stronger than we." And so they brought to the Israelites an unfavorable report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land that we've gone through as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in that land are of great size. There we saw the Nephilim," which meant giants, "and to ourselves we seemed like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." The other 10 spies tell all of Israel there are giants in that land. Now, real quick timeout. There are two things for you to know when we read this verse about Nephilim or giants. In Genesis, there's reference to the word Nephilim being this weird creature that was the offspring of angels and human women. And there's a lot of debate about whether this very isolated verse in Genesis is descriptive of something real or if it's descriptive of what the people at that time came up with to describe something else that they were seeing. So the first thing I need to tell you about Nephilim or giants, you don't have to believe that giants roamed the earth to read and take direction from the Bible. You might, but there are other explanations for this passage in Genesis that refers to the Nephilim beyond literal Jack and the Beanstalk or Jolly Green giants. Here's one possible explanation. They ran across this guy or one of his ancient ancestors, and they labeled that Nephilim or giant. All right. The second thing you should know about this is something I want you to notice in this passage. We just read pretty much the entire account of their 40 days of spying, and nowhere in that description of spying did we see them encounter anything Nephilim-like or giant. It says they picked grapes and figs and pomegranates. Nowhere does it talk about these first-time spies narrowly escaping the clutches of giants. It is possible that these 10 spies are giving this report to the Israelites, saying there are giants in the land, to try and talk them out of going into the land that's been promised to them by God. The Bible doesn't say that there were giants in the land. It says that they said there were giants in the land. And those are two different things, right? I mean, one could be fake news. Either way, Joshua and Caleb are ready, but 10 of the spies are not. And those 10 make sure that Moses and all the other people of Israel are not ready either. Now, remember what I asked you earlier. What do you do when you are ready? You're certain of a direction that you're supposed to go, but it's not entirely up to you. You've got to convince others, and they are not ready. What do you do while you wait? Okay, let me show you what Joshua and Caleb do. The Bible tells us that upon hearing from the other 10 spies, the people begin mourning and crying. They begin weeping. It's understandable because this is why they left Egypt, to get to the promised land. And they start complaining, and the people say, "Let us go back to slavery in Egypt." And it is then that Joshua and Caleb step up, and they do 4 things. Let me show you the first one. Verse 6. And Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, who were among those who'd spied out the land, tore their clothes. Now, let's stop right there. That seems out of character with what we know to be true about these two guys. Everybody else is complaining and worried, but we know that these two are people of hope. I mean, they're the ones who've been trying to encourage everyone else to go into the promised land. But all of a sudden, right here, Joshua and Caleb tore their clothes? Tearing your clothes in their culture was a way that you expressed grief and mourning. It's kind of like in our culture, people wear black to a funeral, or we lower our flag to half-mast as a sign of sadness or respect for somebody who's gone. Sometimes today you'll see someone or a group of people wearing a black armband, right, with a message on it. That message varies depending on what it is they're mourning. Sometimes it's a loss. Sometimes it expresses anger. Or that's what tearing your clothes was for the people back then. But again, Joshua and Caleb were people of hope. They knew that God would deliver them to the promised land. So why tear their clothes? Because the first thing you do when you're ready, and the people that you need to be ready are not, is you identify with their grief or their anger or their fear. You understand it. You empathize. You help the other people see you are on their side during their fear. The first thing we get from this story today about what to do when you're already ready and others are not, when you're ready first, show them you're with them. Show them that you are with them in their fear. Before you do anything else, you must understand, relate to, identify with somebody else's fear or grief or anger. You will not get someone ready by just talking to them. You must listen to them first, and then show them you're with them. Okay, let me show you the second thing. Verse 7. After they tore their clothes like everyone else, it says, they said to all of the congregation, all of the Israelites, the land that we went through as spies is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Okay, the second thing you do when you're ready and the other people are not and the other person is not, when you are on a mission from God and you know what you're supposed to do and what everybody else is supposed to do with you, the second thing, you keep casting the vision. When you are ready first, keep casting the vision. Listen to what they say here. They say, this is good land. God will bring us there. He'll give it to us. Oh yeah, did I mention that this is good land? It flows with milk and honey. They say to the people, I know that the vision you have in your head right now is giants. Let me cast a new one. God keeping his promise to you. All right, let's talk about vision casting for a second. I think sometimes we think that when we're ready for something and we have an idea, you just say it once, and if people don't join in, then that's a sign that it wasn't meant to be. It's not true. Vision needs to be cast again and again. How many of you who are listening, watching this right now, how many of you have ever heard the term designated driver? Everyone, right? But you probably don't know the reason that you've heard it. Check this out. In the 1980s, Jay Winston, who's a professor at Harvard, he learned about a program in Scandinavian countries called the Designated Driver Program. At the time, nobody in the U.S. knew what a designated driver was. And this professor and his team, they wanted to change the way that people here behaved in regards to driving during a night out drinking. And he had this belief that he could influence people's thoughts by regularly exposing them to the idea, the vision of a designated driver, even if it was just brief exposure. And so here's what he did. He collaborated with producers, writers, actors from more than 160 primetime TV shows to insert designated driver moments into the plot of their shows. If you were alive in the 1980s watching TV like I was, you might remember designated driver mentions appearing on The Cosby Show and Who's the Boss and Cheers, to name a few. In one episode of LA Law, the heartthrob lawyer asks a bartender, could you call my designated driver? This professor requested a mere 5 seconds of dialogue focused on the idea. All right, the results were remarkable. By 1991, which is only like 3 years after the campaign had launched, 90% of people were familiar with the term designated driver. 37% of Americans reported having acted as a designated driver, and over half of frequent drinkers had used a designated driver. All right, the vision must be cast again and again and again. If you are ready and those you need to be ready are not already ready, show them you're with them and then keep casting vision. Let me show you the next thing that Joshua and Caleb do. Verse 9, they're talking to the people. They've just torn their clothes, and then they cast the vision again. Verse 9, they say to the people, only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they are no more than bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Now, there's definitely more than vision casting, more vision casting, I should say, that happens in that statement. But I want you to notice that first line I read. Do not rebel against the Lord. Do not rebel. The next thing that Joshua and Caleb do is they challenge the people. They challenge them. They don't just empathize or show that they're with them. They don't just say, hey, let me paint you a nice picture of what could be vision. But they say to the people, rebelling against what God has called us to would be a bad idea. It would be sin. It would be a missed chance to follow God in obedience. They speak a tough word challenge. Do not rebel against the Lord. But look at this verse. It's sandwiched, isn't it? They cast a little vision. We already read that. Then they challenge. And then if you keep looking at that verse, they follow up with a little bit more vision. And after the challenge, they say, God is with us. He will help us. We don't need to be afraid. All right, that is important. That's important. I think this is the right way to challenge. I'll just tell you, I've lost my patience very quickly with leaders, especially Christian leaders, who pretend to empathize, and then they cast a little bit of vision, and then they just angrily unload challenge. The idea being, I'm going to make you feel so bad that you must agree with me. In fact, you're afraid of the giants. You ought to be afraid of the God who you're rebelling against. They don't say that. Joshua and Caleb, they challenge graciously. Here's what I love about this challenge. This is the ancient equivalent of, hey guys, you're better than this. This is not you, people of Israel. I know right now you're feeling grief and you're scared and it's causing you to rebel and you're considering turning your back on God. But I just want to tell you, I know you're stronger than this. I know what you've come through, all this wandering in the desert. I know what our God has done and will do through us. Don't give in to the little part of you that would turn away. You're better than that. And I think sometimes for us, when we're not getting our way and we're ready, others are not, it's easy for us to become judgmental. And that comes out in this challenge step, doesn't it? If you really wanted to follow God or build our family or make wiser financial decisions, whatever it is, if you really wanted to, you would be ready with me. But that doesn't seem to work. Conversations break down, right? Joshua and Caleb, they challenge the people's thinking graciously. Now, let me show you the result of this set of moves that these two guys make. Here we go. Here's what it leads to. Verse 10. But the whole congregation threatened to stone them. So maybe it didn't go so well. After they showed they were with them and kept casting vision and challenged. All right, don't worry. It's about to go well. But I want you to see this. I didn't want to skip over this. The people threatened to kill them. And this is not going to be a point today, but I could have said there are 5 things we take from this story. So this is just an aside. I'm giving you this one for free. This is a bonus thing. When you're ready first, get ready for pain. When you are ready for what is next and others are not ready for what is next, then another thing you should be ready for is pain. When you're ready and others are not, even when you've empathized, cast vision, you've challenged, you've done everything right, just know that with that often comes pain. This is not a follow these steps and everybody's going to be happy. Quite the opposite. The people you're hoping to see get ready with you might be stubborn and they might want to inflict pain on you one way or another, which leads to a question. And then the last thing, if trying to get people ready for something that I'm ready for might result in pain and not even change their minds, why do it at all? Okay, the rest of verse 10. It says this, then the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting to all the Israelites. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will this people despise me? And how long will they refuse to believe in me in spite of all the signs that I have done among them? Now, we've run out of time. I can't read you everything God says after this. There's a lot of things that he speaks to Moses and the people. And I'll tell you, the story ends with the people apologizing to God. And they become convinced. They believe he really can conquer what's in Canaan, and God forgives them for this moment. But here is what you must know. When you are ready and the other people are not, 4th thing, God is the one who changes minds. Know that as much as you can and should do those 3 things we talked about earlier, while they're important parts of getting somebody ready, It is never you that changes their mind. It's going to be God. And that means a few things. Pray like it depends on God, but work like it depends on you. It's one of our values at Crosswinds. But the other, if the other person or people are never ready, then that's not on you. In the end, God is the one who changes minds. It's not your responsibility. Now, again, you might ask, what's the point then? Why do anything at all? Because here's how the story ends. When it finally is time to enter the land, when the people of Israel can all get on board, get their act together, who do you think the leaders are? Joshua and Caleb. They're the ones that God sets in place to lead his people in the next generations. And I think what's important for you to know while you wait, God will do the same in you as you work to get people ready. In fact, let me close by saying this. As God uses you to help get someone ready in the process, he's very likely developing you for what you might not be ready for just yet. Would you think about that this week? How might God be making you ready for something entirely different while you're sitting and waiting for everyone else to be ready?
Well, we just spent some time identifying a really specific wait. What do you do when you are ready to act on something, but the people around you aren't? As we close with one more worship song, we invite you to keep thinking about which of the 4 waitlist items that we saw in the Joshua story, which one of those might you need to be paying attention to in your wait right now. And as we close, we want to spend some time considering how God might want you to respond. So let me pray for you as you enter into worship. God, it's so hard. It's so hard to be ready to move on something that we feel like you have given us to do, but the people around us just aren't ready yet. I ask that you would give us wisdom, that you would give us patience, that you would help us discern next steps, that you would speak to us about what our true next move is in the midst of the wait. God, teach us how you want us to respond in the waiting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever see. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever see. Worthy of every breath we could ever your breath, oh God. And I will build, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. And oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. And oh, come.